Into the shadows we go, where the truth walks soft and slow. Names in stone and blood in code. Trust no light, just bear your load.
They say a good villain is just a hero who made the wrong choice. But in my experience, most villains, they didn't choose at all. The world bent them, broke them, sharpened them into something useful, and then forgot to dull the edge. Welcome, once again, into the shadows. If you're here, it means you're building something, or perhaps unbuilding it. A world, a campaign, a city that eats its young. Either way, you're in the right alley. Today, we talk villains. Not monsters, not generic evil liches with predictable weaknesses and theatrical plans. I'm talking about the kind of villain that lives in your players' minds, weeks after the session. The ones that don't twirl their mustaches, they twist the world. The villains you can't stab in a clean line because they just don't block the path forward. They are the path. So, who are the architects of ruin in my world? First, we have Avirex, a name only spoken by the mad and the desperate. He's not a god, not really. He's a memory of hunger, sealed in the moon like a bad idea. The kind of enemy who doesn't knock, he waits, and then pulls. The second is the Kur'rah, my broken brothers. They were warriors once, now, they're what happens when pride, grief, and forgotten history ferment too long in the dark. And finally, the most dangerous villain of all, the kingdom of Keyr'dana itself. Gold-stained, steel-plated, hollow as a gutted corpse. You don't need dragons when a bureaucracy is hungry. You don't need claws when your nobles bleed people dry with laws. So in this episode, I'll walk you through what I've learned, both as a storyteller and a man who's had to put down more than a few monsters wearing crowns. We'll talk about designing threats that shape the world, not because they want to, but because they can't help it. Mythic threats, forgotten wars, enemies who erase stories before they drew blood. And how to let those villains breathe through your cities, your factions, your gods, and your players' doubts. So draw your cloak in tight, friend. The air is colder here, and you may want to walk slower. Some villains hunt by sound. They say he was born before time began, before breath, before balance. Avirex. Not a name you'll find in textbooks, not in temples either. But if you listen, the wind knows. The bones of old dragons whisper it when they crack. He's not alive in ways we understand. And he's not dead either. He is an idea. A hunger that learned how to wear flesh. The first sin cast into the sky, and sealed in the moon like a warning written in silver blood. You don't fight Avirex, you brace for him. In my world, Avirex is more than a villain. He's a mythic constant, a buried truth. He doesn't send armies, he doesn't give speeches. What he does is sleep. And in that sleep, he dreams, and the world fractures. Clerics lose connection to their gods when he stirs, spells warp. Nightmares take root like seeds in the mind of anyone who's ever wished for power. But the worst part, some people want him to wake up. This is the power of the cosmic villain. Avirex doesn't need stats yet. He exists through implication. Every campaign world needs a pressure, something massive, distant, and unknowable that humbles even the strongest heroes. Avirex is my pressure, my Leviathan. Players aren't meant to slay him, not at first. They're meant to hear of his influence in tavern tales, prophetic dreams, and forgotten murals in buried cathedrals. Let him exist in lore before he ever takes form. You want to terrify your players? Don't show the monster. Show what it's done. A scorched mountain range where nothing grows, that's an Avirex scar. Ruined order of dragon guardians, their souls burned into crystals, that's the wake of his last breath. He's sealed inside Litharay, the moon, not with chains, but with stories. 4 Celestials created the Tablets of Creation to bind him in narrative, trapping his essence inside the collective memory of the world. But memory fades, tablets crack. And if even one of them breaks, he gets a name again, and that name will call him home. Let your players accidentally serve the greater evil. They retrieve a shard, thinking it's holy. They unlock a vault, thinking it holds treasure, not a memory. They ally with a cultist who's disguised as a misunderstood scholar. Make Avirex the villain whose influence spreads through choice, not domination. That's the horror of it. They could be the ones who wake him up. Avirex is patient, but patience isn't mercy, it's timing. The longer he waits, the more the world forgets why it feared him in the first place. So, sleep well then, while he still does. The Kur'rah weren't born villains. They were my brothers, once. We trained in the same dust, bled in the same sands, swore our oaths under the same blood-red moon. But history has a cruel way of punishing loyalty. They were warriors of purpose, defenders of a dying culture. We fought for a homeland already written out of the maps. But when the wars ended, the victors wrote a new story. And the Kur'rah, they were erased. Scapegoats, traitors, exiled into silence. So, they rewrote themselves. The Kur'rah are my reminder that villains can emerge from the ashes of injustice. They aren't evil by nature, at least not yet. They're what happens when no one listens. Maybe your players confront that. Maybe the Kur'rah weren't wrong. Maybe they just weren't heard. They forged themselves into something new. Masked warriors wielding stolen gods and cursed steel. They hunt the keepers of old magic, drain cities of relics, and carve runes of war into the bones of the world. Not out of hunger, not even revenge. Out of belief. They think they're saving us, that the world must be broken to be healed. Use the Kur'rah, as unlikely as it sounds, as sympathetic enemies. Let your players negotiate with them, fight beside them in temporary alliances, or confront past betrayals. Complex villains aren't obstacles, they're mirrors. The Kur'rah force the players to ask, what would I become if everything I fought for was buried? I left them. I chose exile. But I remember their eyes in the torchlight, faith shining brighter than fear. They didn't fall, they changed. The world turned them into something sharp, and now the blade's coming back. Build Kur'rah encounters with emotional stakes. Their champions can be former allies, corrupted saints, or long-lost kin. Make every blade cut both ways. The Kur'rah aren't the final threat, but they are the shadow at your back. Every time your players think they've escaped the past, remind them that the past remembers them. Every villain needs a crown to break, and every hero needs something worth burning for. This kingdom is both. The gleaming heart of a dying empire, the city of 10,000 masks, a palace of marble and gears, run not by kings, but by compromises, by secrets. Political intrigue is the soft underbelly of any fantasy setting. This kingdom lets me explore what happens when a city is so desperate to hold on to its legacy that it forgets how to adapt. It's a kingdom with too many enemies inside its walls. The royal court is gilded rot. The king? A figurehead clinging to power with a smile carved by speechwriters. The guilds? Each one holds a knife to the economy's throat, ready to bleed it dry for profit. The silver blades? His holy bodyguards. Ruthless, beautiful, loyal only to the law, never to justice. And below it all, in the sewers and salt-blooded alleyways, the resistance, the Hall of Heroes, my guild. We remember what this city could have been, and what it still might be if it survives itself. Cities work best when they feel alive. And this one isn't just a backdrop, it's a character. Populate it with rival factions, collapsing alliances, and consequences that ripple across the region. Every noble deal should hide a dagger. Every alliance should cost more than it pays. Give your players power and make them afraid of what it costs. Keyr'dana hides more than corruption. Beneath the capital's facade lies a much older truth. It was built atop the ruins of fractured kingdoms, assimilated into one nation during the Unification War. Its presence, it warps memory and ambition. No one rules this city. The city rules them. In your campaigns, let political villains feel inevitable. The minister who always seems to be 3 moves ahead. The high alchemist who knows your players' secrets before they speak. The royal heir who's too charming to hate even when he betrays you. Good villains don't have to fight with swords. Let them win through policy, propaganda, and pacts sealed in blood. The city eats its heroes, but sometimes it spits out something worse. A monster with a cause, a villain with a crown, or an assassin with a memory too sharp to fade. So, you've heard the stories. The name that should never be spoken, Avirex. The brotherhood broken by blood, the Kur'rah. And the city bleeding itself dry, Keyr'dana. Now I'll tell you the truth. These aren't 3 separate villains. They're the same storm, seen from different angles. It starts with desperation, the kind that makes people forget who they are. The nobles of Keyr'dana, they're not evil because they're greedy. They're evil because they think they're the last line of defense. They hoard magic, outlaw knowledge, and bury prophecies. Because if people knew what slept in the moon, they'd burn the city down just to stop dreaming. That's the madness Avirex spreads, not by force, but by fear. This is where good campaign design lives. Villains should feed off each other and into each other. Let the otherworldly threat create cracks. Let political fear fill them with paranoia. Then let mortal pain, the Kur'rah, explode through those cracks like wildfire. You want a living world? Connect the threads. The resistance that steals a relic from the palace, that relic hums with the memory of a tablet. The alchemist that helps the silver blades perform a mind-altering poison. He's been touched by Avirex in his dreams. The Kur'rah warband hunting spellcasters in the east. They're not purging magic. They're trying to steal what's leaking from the Lithoray moon. In trying to save the world, they may destroy the only ones capable of saving it. My party doesn't know it yet, but we are pieces on a board crafted by cosmic hands. Avirex doesn't need to wake if we tear ourselves apart first. And that's what makes a villain like him so potent in tabletop design. He's not just waiting to rise, he's teaching the world to rot without him. Campaigns thrive on collision. Here's how to merge your threats. Number 1, let factions touch. The Kur'rah should be seen in the alleys of Keyr'dana. Maybe the prince has a Kur'rah bodyguard, or a secret pact. 2, give the world a fragile hinge. Something like the Tablets of Creation, something the players don't understand until it's already moved. 3, make every villain a solution. The king thinks he's keeping peace. The Kur'rah believe they're restoring balance. And the cult of Avirex, they're trying to end suffering. Your players will have to choose not who to kill, but who to trust for now. That's the real tension. Here's the bitter truth of it all. I'm not the hero. I'm just the knife you put in the right place at the right time. I've killed for coin, killed for truth. I've walked away from people I loved to protect secrets that would break the world. And now I'm walking straight into the shadow again. But this time, I'm not walking alone. Villains are only as strong as the party's fractures. Does your paladin trust the rogue who used to serve the Kur'rah? Can the scholar hiding a prophetic dream tell the party what she saw without being branded mad? Will the cleric obey their god even when the visions start to change? Tie your villains into your party's identity, not just their HP bars. The war isn't won with blades. Not this one. It'll be won in council rooms, in whispered betrayals, in the blood on a forgotten sigil. It won't be the strongest army that decides what happens next. It'll be the ones who understand that villains are made, not born. And maybe, just maybe, can be unchosen. We walk into the shadows, not because we crave the dark, but because somebody has to carry the light in with them. Thank you for joining us on Into the Shadows.
In a city where steel keeps secrets cold, and shadows wear the face you sold. No mercy waits, no hand to hold. Just the blade and the choice you mold. Traitor whispers, warden cries. Keyr'dana bleeds beneath the skies. He's still alive, the clock defies the truth that hides behind the lies. Into the shadows we go, where the truth walks soft and slow. Names in stone and blood in code. Trust no light, just bear your load. The storm rolls in the strings they rise, shines like wind through rusted ties. A breath before the kill implies this is the end where silence lies. Traitor whispers, warden cries. Keyr'dana bleeds beneath the skies. He's still alive, the clock defies the truth that hides behind the lies. Into the shadows we go, where the truth walks soft and slow. Names in stone and blood and code. Trust no light, just bear your load. Into the shadows we go, where the truth walks soft and slow. Names in stone and blood and code. Trust no lies, just bear your load. Into shadows we go, where the truth walks soft and slow.